So I wanted to address something that I said in the video I released yesterday talking about the death of my daughter. And at one point I said, I dare you to go through life focusing and trying to pin down a career when you have this hanging over your head. When you have the death of a child and the injustice that was done to you and your child hanging over your head. So what occurred to me, what's occurred to me a lot, is that many of you will get through your daily life, if you had to live with something like that, would get through it as most religious people do. Most Christians, Muslims, Jewish people, probably Buddhists. You all think that there's going to be this beautiful Shangri-La heaven garden in the afterlife that you're going to go to, and you will be just as you are, and your loved ones will be just as they were when you remember them, how you remember them, and you're all going to hang out together in this beautiful place and have a tea party and be together again. That is not so. And this is why I think that it's harder for me than it is for you. Yeah, and I'm going to break it down for you. Let's break this down. I'm not saying that there isn't an afterlife. I'm not saying that it's a hell. I'm just saying it's not going to be what you guys think it is. Let's figure this out a little bit. So, we all have this sense, everybody, doesn't matter what your religion is, even agnostics, I'm an agnostic. We all have this sense of we live beyond the flesh. There's something about us, soul, spirit, something that lives beyond the flesh. If your flesh body dies, we all have this sense that that doesn't mean that we're not going to end with the flesh body. We're going to live on in some capacity. Some piece of us will live on. All right, well, what does that suggest? That suggests that, first of all, that we chose to come down here. Why would we have chosen to come down here? Well, if we didn't choose to come down, then we were forced to come down, and that doesn't jive, because just about every religion also believes in a highest power, a God, that believes in, that respects free will. And if you look around you at life and just analyze a lot of stuff about life, you'll understand, that is the case. It simply must be the case. The highest power, whatever it is, respects free will. And so it would never force a soul or spirit to be born down here against its will. So that must mean we choose to come down here. Why would we choose to come down here in all this pain and suffering? There's so many horrible things that happen down here. I mean, again, I just mentioned recently, what was that guy's name? I forget, but he one dude was recently caught. He locked his own daughter in a basement bunker for years and raped her. There's tortures. There horrible things happen down here. People do horrible things to each other, and even if it's not people doing it to each other, like accidents happen. Just people get eaten alive by lions, and it's just drown in horrible storms, and just bad pains and sufferings, and fall into one woman I heard about recently fell into a hole between the walls in her house, and because nobody came by and checked on her for a while, she just starved to death in there. She couldn't get out. It's crazy. There's just so many horrible things that can happen to you down here. Why would you ever, if you have the choice, and you have the choice, why would you choose to come down here then? If there's this big, beautiful Shangri-La garden in the afterlife where you can just chill out being whatever you want to be, however you want to be, and you just hang out with your family and friends, and it's just a big party. Why would you ever choose to leave that to come down here? That's just a bit of insanity. But I think what is going on, I don't think it's insane. I think it's just there are certain things that you can have down here that you can't have anyplace else. You can't have certain, like, there are good things. What comes along with the pain and suffering, the possible pain and suffering down here, are so many good things that you just can't have on the other side. So, for example, on the other side, in the spirit soul world, you can't experience things like growing a baby in your body. Let me see where we're at. Yeah. Birthing a baby from your body, you know, feeling the life growing inside of you, birthing that life from you, nurturing it, feeding it from your body, teaching your baby, smiling down on them, seeing them smiling up at you, watching them grow, watching them learn. The joys of that, the joys of meeting someone and falling in love, head over heels, and being smitten and you know, in a daydream for days and weeks and months, and you know, root beer floats and getting a sunburn because you spent too much time at the beach, and seeing a dolphin swim by you, and playing with kittens and watching kittens and puppies, and there's just so many things you can't have on the other side that you can only have here. That's why you would choose to come down here into a world where there is so much pain and suffering. It's because along with the pain and suffering, there's all these good things that you just will not have. It's just not possible to have on the other side. Why? Because our individual souls go back to an oversoul. The thing that makes us individuals, a part of what makes us individuals is the flesh. Like it suggests that once we shed the flesh body, we will also shed the things that individualize us from the rest of the oversoul. So it won't be a party like I'm going back and I'm going to be me as I am now. And my grandmother, who I was very close to, I'm not going to ever see her again. You know, I'll never be me as I am now and with her as she was, as I remember her, ever again. That time is gone. And the same goes for my daughter. I'll never be me as I am now. And she'll never be her as she was. That time, whatever time we might have had together, is gone forever. It's gone. It's gone. It'll never come back. Maybe some shadow of it, maybe one day. I don't know. Again, like, I don't know that souls take on the same individuality as they did in any previous lives, assuming we come back down here for multiple lives whenever we see fit to do so. I don't know. I don't know everything. I don't claim to know all of it. I just know if you sit down and think about certain things and calculate and analyze, you come to realize that, yes, there is free will. We wouldn't be forced to be born down here against our will if we didn't want to be. So why would we come down here? Well, because there are things that we can have here that we can't have anyplace else. We can't have on the other side. But that also means that when this time is up, when it's gone, it's gone. It's gone. Stop telling yourselves lies and fantasies that it's gonna be a big party, Shangri-La in the afterlife. A lot of people are just going like, bring on Armageddon, bring on the end times. It'll all be better when it's the end times. What the fuck are you talking about? No, it won't be. Because they're thinking that it's going to be a big party in the sky for them and their loved ones. And, you know, there just won't be any pain and suffering. And yeah, you're right. There probably won't be any pain and suffering, but there might not be any joy either. Exhilaration, excitement. You won't be, you know, excited for your baby. You won't be proud when you see them score that goal in soccer or whatever, or learn a new skill. There won't be any of that either. So much for Shangri-La, Armageddon, or whatever. So much for the ending of all of it. Yeah, because they just perceive like all the bad stuff's gonna end. Well, yeah, all the good stuff's gonna end too, dum-dums. It'll just be you subsisting. You just be part of the oversoul again. You'll shed a lot of what makes you an individual when you shed your physical body. And you'll just go back, your individual soul will go back to being part of this big oversoul. And that's that. And so the idea behind that is, and the oversoul is the mother. She's the mother. Okay. So that's the first entity. That's the first anything, was the soul, the oversoul, the thing that lives beyond the flesh and the physical world. And that's a mother. It's a sea of light, sea of souls. All right. It just is. It's still, it doesn't move. It doesn't have to. It's all things. It just is. Right. And then what separates us, the boundaries and the separation, the physical world, the flesh world, that's the Father. So in order for the soul to experience itself, in order for it to have anything beyond just sitting and being still and being quiet and being content to just be, without any ups and downs, in order to kind of experience itself and have a life of pain and suffering and joy and adulation and loving and blah, 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 in order to experience itself, it had to begin splitting itself up. So its first split up was it made the first male. She made her son / father. The son and the father are the same thing. He represents the physical world. He represents the flesh, and he is, or as far as I can tell, he represents the physical world and the flesh, and or what I've been considering is he represents the absence of. So he would represent the void. I'm still working it out to some degree, but I know the oversoul is feminine. It's more feminine than anything. And then from that, it split itself up. It decided to break off to make this thing we know as life, right? You can't have life if it's just the physical world. You can't have life if it's just the soul world, right? You need the both working together to make the life that we know, right? So in order to do that, again, the mother split herself off and made the first male, made her son, who is also the father, because between the two of them, they make all of life beneath them. They make everything else. And this is the idea behind Semiramis and Tammuz, it's not coming to me. Isis, Osiris, and Horus, that's the idea behind them. And Semiramis and Tammuz and Nimrod, there it is. These ancient stories, that's what these deities actually represent, is the great mother soul that it all started with, that decided, I want more than just to be still and just be me all by myself. Let's experience myself like in different ways. So she split herself up and she made the first male, the fallen son, which is her son, but also the father, because between the two of them, between his absence of the light and her light, between the two of them, between her soul world and his physical world, we have life, all life as we know it. All right. And that also, remember, circles back into, I just made a video not long ago called The Western Cult. We all come from incest, where I was talking about John Updike and his story called The Centaur. And in that story, in that short story, the woman, the character who represents Venus, says, we all come from incest. It's all incest. We all come from chaos. I wouldn't say chaos. Again, I don't agree with that part, but he was aligning himself with the Greek beliefs, which is, I think ancient Greeks for a long time thought that it all came from chaos. That's not what I think is going on with. If you think it all came from an oversoul of light, a sea of light that just is still and doesn't move, that doesn't suggest chaos. So if you think it all started with that, I don't think that's chaos, right? So anyway, yeah. So this quote by John Updike: "Rape is the sexual sin of the mob, adultery of the bourgeoisie, and incest of the aristocracy." So the mob being the common folk, typical citizens, born into less resources, usually lower IQ, usually worse education. And then obviously as you go up through the bourgeoisie and the aristocracy, they are typically born into better resources, have better educations, more intelligent, so on and so forth. So why is incest the sexual sin of the aristocracy? Well, I think because a lot of the aristocracy, not all of them, but I think a good amount of them have a predilection for pedophilia and having sex with children. This is well known throughout time and history, guys. We saw it in the ancient Egyptians, right? The pharaohs, they had sex with their own children. We saw it with the Roman emperors. One of the emperors was like, he had a garden of little children that he called his little minnows. You know, minnows who suck on your toes and such, you know. We had the Habsburg family. These are just a few examples. The aristocracy has notoriously, throughout history, engaged in incest and pedophilia. And so because also they're so well educated, they will come up with their own they will take existing philosophy, or they'll take stuff that actually is, like the way I'm just explaining to you, the soul world versus the physical world, and they will use that as an excuse to engage in their predilections of child rape. All right? They will use philosophical reasons why they should be allowed to have sex with children and their own children. And so because we have this idea of Isis, Osiris, and Horus, for example, or Semiramis and Nimrod and Tammuz, we have this idea of there being a mother goddess deity who sort of made her own consort. We also see this in the story of Shakti and Shiva in Hindu mythology. I believe, who did she make? Who was the girl she made for Parvati, something like that. This story is being retold over and over and over and over and over again. It's the same basic story, guys. You just got to know how to decode it. And the decoding is, it starts with an oversoul. It starts with a sea of light. An oversoul, and it's still. It doesn't move. Why? There's no reason to move. It's all things. It is all things. All things exist within it. But it also wanted to experience itself. It's by itself. It's all alone. It's the cheese that stands alone. Right? And so in order for that to happen, it needed to split itself off. And in doing so, created the next entity, which was like the son, the father. The son and the father, the fallen son, the child. And so that suggests, if you look at it like sexual, like a deviant would, and then you see it as, oh, these two then came together, got it on, knocked boots, and made all of life below them, made all of their children, which would be all of us, So again, this is what the aristocracy and the richy riches of the world, this is what they use to justify their having sex with their own children. A lot of this is also just they're trying to consolidate their own power and keep it all within the family. But a lot of it is just psychological illness. They want to have sex with children. I've already gotten into reasons why they want to have sex with children. It's quite often a power play. They feel powerless. But they are looking for any reason why they should be. They're like an addict. An addict, the smarter they are, the more, it doesn't mean that they're going to kick the addiction. It just means that they're going to come up with more excuses and more reasons why they should be able to indulge in the addiction. Right? So, and these are the aristocracy. They're the smartest of the smart because they're they're the best educated. And they have a lot of free time on their hands too because they got a lot of money. So they're not working day in, day out just to make ends meet. So they have a lot of time to sit around and think about excuses for them, making excuses for themselves in order to have what they want. And a lot of them are just obsessive. And read Nabokov's Lolita, to get an idea of just how obsessive these pedophiles can be. They form fixations with children, and sometimes their own children. And they want to, explains the man who locked his own daughter in a basement bunker and raped her for years. And he even said, like, he wanted to have total control over her. When he was caught later and asked, like, why did you rape your daughter too? He's like, he said he wanted to get her pregnant because he knew then he would have even more control over her. They form fixations with children and their own children sometimes, and they really just want total control. It's a control power play kind of thing, if you break it down. So yeah, sorry, this took a total spin off into why pedophiles do what they do, but it started off with, I wanted to point out to you guys, like, please don't tell me, like, I don't want to hear one single comment that's, you'll see her someday again in the afterlife and it'll all be okay. Just hold on to that thought and it'll get you through the next day. I want to say shut the fuck up, but, you know, I appreciate this kind sentiment, but please do think your words through before you speak about such things a little bit more. Think it through a little bit more. Please. No, I will never be me. She will never be her. We will never be together in this capacity ever again, as far as I can tell. You know, she's gone. She was barely formed as a human being, and she had only been in existence for about 8.5 months. But she was around long enough for me to love her and to be excited about her and look forward to her. But all the potential, everything she could have been, gone. You know, all the times, you know, me holding her and reading bedtime stories to her and teaching her and telling her I'm proud of her and giving her hugs and kisses and watching her face the first time she tastes ice cream or that's gone. It's gone forever. It will not ever be again. Those things that could have been will never be. Not with me and her, at least. She's gone forever. It will never be in some afterlife either. It just won't be. All right? So, and this is the idea behind, like, for example, Freemason, tombstone, where's hourglass. You can see on a lot of Freemason tombstones this image. Oh, let's watch. We won't. Here we go. Perfect. On a lot of Freemasonry tombstones, you have images that look very much like this. It's an hourglass in the center of an Ouroboros, a snake eating its own tail. And quite often there's something that has wings, like a bird or a butterfly. There's butterflies often too. So you can see a lot of examples here. That's what this image is relaying to you. Everything I just explained to you and broke down for you. That's what this image is telling you. If you know how to decode it and break it down. I actually have, I started a post in my blog. I don't remember which post it is. Let's see if I can't find it. Mermaids, Milicene, Tesla's. It might be here. It might be this one. Let's see. I still have to finish so many of these, but again, it's like, hey, who wants to give me some money? So I have the time and energy. Like, a lot of also what drains me is just, like, worrying about how I'm gonna fucking eat next week, you know? Like, who wants to give me some money so I can actually work on this shit? And remember, the reason why I'm doing a lot of this is to try and shut down pedophile networks. So you can see here, yeah, I start getting into breaking down Rodin's coil and how it relates to these Freemasonic tombstones. And sort of the science and the physics behind it, the energies behind it. And again, this is my blog called Celebrity Reigns List, celebrityreignslist.wordpress.com. Go ahead and check it out. None of the posts are finished. I work on them as I can work up the energy to do so. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out to you guys. Oh, here we go. I start getting into the connections with the seraphim. How they have eyes all over, supposedly have eyes all over them. That's just talking about this. The flower of life. See? See how it has these little eyes? It has little flowers. It's the flower of life made up of a bunch of smaller flowers. And those flowers are almost like wings, aren't they? And the angels, seraphim, are described as being covered in eyes and having like 6 wings. And if you pay attention to the little petals and all these flowers, it's 6 of them. 6 wings coming out from the eyes, from a central point, an eye, and each one kind of ends in another eye. Oh my, it's just like, oh look, see the wings with all the eyes? See the wings with all the eyes here? Right there. Like it's just different ways of explaining this afterlife, this life, this world, this existence, and what it's really made of, what's really going on. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Please don't tell me things like, oh, just, you'll see them again someday. No, I won't. I won't ever see my daughter again someday. As far as I understand it, at least as far as I've been able to work it out, I won't ever see her again. I'll never be me holding her again. Never. That time's gone. And I'm sorry for what that implies about the rest of you and your loved ones. That the time you had with them is gone. It's gone forever. Cherish it. Cherish the time you have with your kids, with your family. Because when it's gone, it's gone. I'm not saying that you completely die or end at the end, when your life dies. But, yeah, a part of you will live on and go back to the oversoul. But the time of you being you and them being them and you guys all being together as you were is forever gone. All right? So, all right, goodbye.